And I'm glad that I'm able to do this, and that we're able to do this not through a computer screen, but in person.
Thank you so much.
I know you guys are glad too. My name is Romeo Mendoza. I am a junior here at JMU Cru.
Hey guys. This is my co-MC Romeo. My name is Brianna Rodriguez. I'm your
Jerry gets up there, I would like to
I'm also a junior. I don't know if I've said that already. I'm a psychology major, and I love making new friends. So please come find me after we're done. I would love to talk to you. So just to get the energy going a little bit tonight, we're gonna play a quick game. I haven't seen some of you guys ever, so welcome. But some of you guys I haven't seen for like 6 months. So we're gonna do a little something here. You've probably played something similar before. A lot of people call it like stand up. So it's one of these things, I'm gonna call out a statement. If it applies to you, just stand up super quick. And then once that one's done, just go ahead and take another seat. We good? Clear?
That makes sense. Alrighty.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So, stand up. If during quarantine you gave yourself a haircut or a dye job.
There you go. It looks great. It looks really good. You save some money. All right. Stand up or stay standing if you regret giving yourself that haircut. You regret it? Let me see it. I can't see because of the tape. Let me see it. Go down. That's all right. Yeah, looks good.
We're doing okay. All right. Stand up if during quarantine you tried to grow a beard.
There you go, Sam. He also grew out his hair. Looks okay. Stand up or stay standing if you ended up shaving your beard. Did you shave it? I can't see. I don't know if you're lying, the mask. Sorry, guys.
All right, ladies. I know you're going to be here with me for this one. Stand up if you baked at least one loaf of bread during quarantine. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Jerry.
There you go. Okay, now stand up if you went camping. Okay. Outdoors,
Got
men
some
and
campers
women.
out here. Heck yeah.
Not surprised.
The beans. All right, this is a very important one, so listen closely. Stand up if during quarantine you spent $500 on fishing equipment.
Who is that? Who is that?
Is that who are we looking at?
Dan, did you?
Dan.
You really spent?
Dan.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know the story
That's like
behind
grocery.
that. I
You
was
could have
told to
spent
say
on
that. So
groceries.
when I find out what it is, I will share with you. Okay.
Stand up if you worked all quarantine or worked all summer. There you go.
Heck
Little
yeah, we love our
workaholics.
essential workers. Stay
like
standing.
that.
Stay standing if you'd never stopped working during the whole thing. I still appreciate all of you, but yeah.
All right, stand up if you learned a new instrument. Okay,
Heck yeah.
David over here. Proud of you.
All right, stand up if you learned a new hobby.
Or you partook in one.
Sweet. We got some productive beans around here. That's what we like to see.
And stand up if you're excited to be here tonight. If you're excited to be at JMU Cru. So, if you're new here, this is your first time here, Cru is a community where the gospel captures hearts and transforms lives and launches men and women into a lifelong adventure with Jesus Christ.
All right, so we are so glad to have you guys here, man. I can't even explain to you. As an MC, it's been so weird. It was so weird to do this over Zoom. It's so good for me. I know it is for Romeo too. To be back with you guys in person. I'm so glad you guys are here with us. Thank you for taking the time to come out. Really quickly, we have a quick survey we would love for you guys to just take a second and fill out for us. So whip out your phones for me really quick. You can have a seat if you want, or you can stay standing, up to you. So I'm going to need you to go to your messages. Kind of give me a thumbs up when you're there. Thanks, Will. Cool. All right. So go ahead and text the number 85005. That's 85005. And you're going to text Dukes 20. So 85005. I think it's just capital D and the rest is in in lowercase, and then number 20. What it's going to do is it's going to take you to a website. We're just going to fill out a quick survey for us so we can get to know a little bit more about you, try to connect with you, help you find some good friends, some good community here. Yeah, as you're doing that, I think Romeo's going to give us a quick reminder.
And as you're doing that, we would still like to observe social distancing. There's clumps here. I know we all love our clumps and our cheese and stuff like that, but we don't like our clumps here. So can we spread out 6 feet apart, unless you're in the same household, then you can do whatever you want. But yes, spread out over here. There's a lot of room right here.
Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool. Yeah, so how's everybody doing with the survey? Good? How many people are finished with the survey? How many people are still working? Okay, we'll give you guys just another minute or two. In the meantime, I'll give you a little fun fact about me. Those of you who know me know that I work at Chipotle. I work there a lot, so please come down there, come see me sometime. I'd love to say hello. I have lots of interesting stories from there, so that's another thing we can talk about if you want to chat about that afterwards. There's plenty of weird stories.
What's your favorite Chipotle order?
My favorite, okay, this is my go-to, all right? You ready for this? You get a bowl. No rice, no beans.
What?
No rice, no beans. Put a tortilla on the bottom. You put some chicken in there, some fajita veggies in there, the mild, the corn, sour cream cheese, maybe just a little bit of guac.
Forget
It's heaven right there. Heaven in a bowl.
the other cord.
No rice. No rice. You're great.
Thanks for sharing.
Cool. Are we good? Everybody good with the survey? Sweet. All right. So we're just gonna go ahead and get the night started. Do you want to pray in the band? Or? Yeah. Okay.
So now we're going to take the time to pray and pray in the band as we worship. And as we worship through song, so bow your heads with me and pray with me. Lord, thank you for this evening that we could gather together in the midst of everything that's going on. Lord, I just pray that you put your hand over this night, that we seek to glorify you in everything that we do. Lord, and that our hearts will be full of joy, that we can look to you for hope. And in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
All right, hey y'all. So if you guys want to pull up the lyrics on your phone, this is King of Kings by Hillsong. So we'll give you a little moment to pull those up if you guys want to sing along. In the darkness we were waiting without hope, without eyes. To from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes. Revealed me unknown, there to aim from the throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Raise up our Reveal the kingdom now, and to reconcile the lost. Reveal the whole creation. You did not despise the cross. For even in your suffering, you saw to the other side. Knowing this was our salvation, Jesus for our Savior died. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, forever to the King of Kings. Morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath. For good, for the Lamb had conquered death, and the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe. For the fold of all who come to the Father are restored, and the Church of Christ was born. And the Spirit in the flame of this gospel truth of old shall not kneel, shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Praise forever to the King of Kings.
It's okay, it's okay.
That's a great noise there. All right, hey everyone, welcome to Cru. My name is Jerry Riando, and I am on staff with Cru here at JMU. And I am so glad you guys are all here. Hey, just quick, I don't know if you noticed, but there's been some water falling out of the sky, and we have some equipment back here. So at any moment, we might say, all right, we're done, and we're going to pack up the equipment and try not to lose all of our money's worth of equipment. So if that happens, here's what you need to do. You need to find us on social media if you're new, and follow us so that we can keep you up to date on everything that's going on. Sound good? Cool. All right, again, my name is Jerry Riando, and tonight I'm going to be talking mainly to new students, but I do want to know who here is a returning student. Raise your hand. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you may not remember this, but about 5 months ago, we sent you guys off on spring break. My wife and I had just had our third little one. His name is Jerry, and so we decided we'd stay behind, not go on the Cru spring break trip. I thought I'd see you guys in like 9 days. 5 months later, here we are. And so I am so glad. Oh, you guys can sit down, by the way. Did I ever say that? No, sit down or stand or do whatever you want to do. It's great. So I'm just so happy to be with you guys. We did some stuff over the summer, but it's just not quite the same. All right, and also for those of you who are returning, but also for those of you who are new, I want to acknowledge that since the last time we gathered, there have been some really big changes. For one thing, I wasn't wearing such a cool space setup here last time we gathered together. But seriously though, I don't want to make light of what's going on with COVID-19, and I do want you all to know we are committed as Cru to taking all the precautions the university has asked us to, both because we want to submit to the authority around us, but also because we want to love our community well by helping to keep ourselves healthy and the rest of this community healthy. So any Cru activity you go to, you don't need to be concerned. We will be making sure that we're social distancing and wearing masks and such. So that's something we're going to be doing. Something else that's going on that I want to acknowledge is that since the last time we gathered, most of us here are more aware of the injustice associated with race in our country than we were before last time we gathered. Now, some of you already were kind of hyper aware of that situation, but for many of us, including myself, we're more aware than we were last time. And we talked a little bit about that over the summer, and we're going to continue to talk about that some this semester. I want you to be aware of that. We're not ignoring the situation, but tonight I do want to take some time to welcome our new students. So if you're a freshman, can you raise your hands? See if I can see you. All right, welcome, freshmen. That's awesome. All right, how about if you're a returning transfer student, or not returning, a new transfer student? Raise your hand. Welcome. It's so fun to have you here. I want you to know that you all have made a fantastic decision coming here to JMU. I know virtually no graduates of JMU who look back on their time with anything except memories of what they think of as the best few years of their life. So I think you made a great decision. And we want to help you turn this campus into a home. We want you to very quickly feel like this is a place that you belong, and maybe even that this community here could become a place where you feel that you belong. And so we would like to help you do that any way we possibly can. I believe that if you make wise decisions over the next few months, or the next few years, you have absolutely no reason to ever be lonely or to ever be bored. Because this campus is kind of like the Disney World of college campuses in a lot of ways. All the facilities you have access to are absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately, every year, there are students who get to the end of their first year at JMU, and rather than just having the best time they could have had, they're unhappy or dissatisfied, end up transferring away or moving back home. And I want to help make sure that that you don't become that. And so I've been in college ministry now for 12 years, and I've been observing students who both love their time and those who haven't as much. And I just wanted to share a few quick pieces of advice with you that I think if you follow them, you will just have a fantastic time. The first piece of advice is this, and this I'm finding out is probably going to be metaphorical for most of you, but it's leave your door open. And when I say this, I'm imagining one of those like old style hall dorms, or like bathroom hall dorms, you know, that was around when I was a college student. And there aren't that many here, I hear, but even those of you who are in those dorms now, I hear that you have to keep a mask on if your door's open, right? And so maybe that's metaphorical. Leave like the door of your heart open to relationships. But if you can keep your door open to your actual dorm too, that'd be fantastic as well. Because I guarantee you, there are lunatics living in your dorm hall. And your best chance of meeting them is leaving the door open and being open to friendships with them. And I don't know what your particular brand of lunatic is going to look like, but I can tell you what mine was like. When I was a freshman at Virginia Tech, there were some crazy people in my hall, and they came up with this fantastic idea to take a screwdriver and knock all the peepholes out of their door, right? And they hid behind the doors aerosol cans and lighters, and they would wait until a poor unsuspecting freshman would walk by, and they would literally shoot flames at this poor freshman. And so the freshman walking by, and flames would shoot at them, and they start kind of walking faster, and as they walk down the hall, more and more flames were shooting them down the hall, and needless to say, they traumatized a few people that way. Well, they were fun, and I got to know them because I was really seeking to get to know them. And you're going to have to work hard to get to know people in your halls, especially if you're transfer students. I know coming in midstream, that can be a little hard. Okay, the second piece of advice is this. It's show up to things. Now, I'm already kind of like preaching to the choir here because you guys showed up to this. And you extroverts are thinking, well, that's a silly piece of advice. Like, I need to go where the people are, and the people are at events, and so I'm going to go to that. And introverts are thinking, no, I'm trying to stay away from the people, and people are at events. And so, but here's my encouragement. Whether extrovert or introvert, we all still need relationship. And I'd encourage you, show up to stuff. Keep showing up to stuff. Events that we're putting on with Cru or that the university is putting on. And really lean into the awkwardness of those first few conversations with people where you have to repeat the same questions over or answers over and over, where are you from, what's your major, etc. Because if you do that, it's really, the only way to get to, thank you, I practiced that. It's really the only way to get to the good stuff of intimate, I'm falling apart here, guys, of intimate relationships in college. So show up to stuff, keep showing up to stuff. Number 3 is one of my favorites. It's force people to be your friends. Force people to be your friends. This is what it looked like for me. When I graduated from college, I went from having tons of great relationships around me, and I moved to Orlando, and I didn't know anyone. And I moved in this room I was renting from this guy who was a lot older than me, and I didn't have any friends, and I found myself on a Friday evening laying in my bed reading Harry Potter. Now, there's nothing wrong with Harry Potter. I like Harry Potter. But as an extrovert, that's not how I wanted to be spending my Friday evening. And I decided, this ends here. I'm going to make friends. And I made a list of my future 10 best friends. I didn't consult these 10 people ahead of time. It was a completely unilateral decision that they were going to be my best friends. They're people from work or from the gym or from my church. And every night that I was bored, and as an extrovert, that was every night, I'd start at the top of the list, and I'd call each person down the list until someone agreed to hang out with me. And then sometimes I'd get to the bottom, and I'd still not have anyone to hang out with. But more times than not, I had someone say, okay, fine, I'll hang out with you. And eventually, the weird thing was, they actually started kind of calling me back, and I still am friends with those 10 people. So I'd encourage you, force people to be your friends. Maybe look around you, and it's a little dark, but see if you can take note of anyone you think might be a good friend, and maybe write down their name, and just decide they're going to be your best friends. And you know what? I don't even want to mention this possibility, but if we end up moving online as a campus this year, this is going to be even more important, because it's going to be so hard to maintain the relationships that you build here while you're here if we end up going back online, you guys going back home. So please, work hard at that. All right, here's number 4. And pull your phones out as I say this one, because I'm going to give you my phone number in a second. Join a small group Bible study. Most of my best friends from college were people that I met in my small group Bible study. We have a ton of them with Cru, and I'd like to help you get connected to one. There's a lot of ways you can connect to one, but I want to personally help you get connected to one. So if you would like to write down my number and text me, you can just text me to hang out, but also text me to say, hey, I'd like to be part of a small group Bible study. I will help you get connected. Here's my number, 540-808-6722. That's 540-808-6722. Every year I do this, I give my number out, and I never get any replies. So humor me and text me and say you'd like to get lunch or coffee or whatever, or just that you want to be connected to Bible study. It'd be great. All right, that's number 4. Here's number 5, and this one's normally people's favorite. Always choose the adventure. Always choose the adventure while you're here in college. You can go to class, that's fine. I went to several of mine when I was a college student. It's a good thing to do, but here's the secret to success in college. The most important learning you're going to do, most likely, is going to be outside of the classroom. The classroom learning is going to be really important. Some of my professor friends are actually here, so I hope they agree with me right now. But what we do outside the class is also very important. And I don't know what your adventure is going to be. Here's what mine was like in college. I went to Virginia Tech, and we would travel to away football games every weekend that there was one. I ended up driving 3,000 miles to watch Virginia Tech lose football games. But that was okay because of the friendships and the adventure I had along the way. And I got to drive 4,000 miles to watch us win games. So it ended up working out. But sometimes you're going to be tempted to not choose the adventure. And I want to tell you, friends, make sure friends choose the adventure. There was one time my friends were going to go down to a football game in Atlanta one weekend, and I had an exam on Monday, and I said, I'm not going to go. And at about 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, my door opens, and 7 or 8 of my guy friends come in the room. And they say, hey, it's time to go. And I said, no, I already told you I'm not going. And they said, look around the room at how many of us there are and how few of you there are, and acknowledge you are coming with us to Atlanta. And so I paused, I pondered the situation, and I said, okay. I'll come, can I pack a bag? And they said, no, you missed the boat. And I said, okay, well, can I at least put pants on? And they said, sure. So I put pants on, I got in the van, and we drove to Atlanta and had a great time. So always choose the adventure. I got 2 more. Number 6, connected to number 5, is know how to get to the emergency room. Save it on your phone, but if you choose the adventure enough in college, you might need that information. All right, number 7. This is going to be an interesting one, but I still think this is really important. Is come with us to fall retreat. Come with us to fall retreat. We're not going to fall retreat this year. This is really fun. Fall retreat is going to come to us because as we seek to follow all the incredibly helpful guidelines that to keep a safe community, we discovered really what we need to do is bring fall retreat to campus, which means it's going to be easier to get there because it's just going to be here on campus a week coming up later this fall. I'd encourage you, as soon as we give you that date, go ahead and put it on your calendar. Because here's what I find at the end of every fall semester. The students who come with us to fall retreat at the end of the semester are the students that seem that they feel like they have a home here with Cru at JMU. And those who don't maybe still feel like they're trying to find that. And we don't want that to be the case. We've just found that's kind of the reality. So come with us to fall retreat. It's going to look a little different this year, but it's still going to be really, really great. Okay, so maybe you noticed a pattern in this advice. All of these pieces of advice had to do with community and relationships. Even the emergency room one, right? Because if you don't make good friends in college, you're not going to know what the emergency room is very often, right? And so I think that tells us a little bit about us. If the secret to happiness in college and beyond college really has to do with the relationships that we form, I believe that this points to something about being human, and it tells us that one of our deepest, if not our deepest longings in life, is to have intimate relationships with people. This is why I think that most of you probably want to get married someday. Not all of you, and that's fine, but most of you, I think, want to get married someday. Why? Because you want to have someone in your life for whom you are their most important relationship. And they are your most important relationship. There's just something in us that longs for that. And it doesn't always end up looking like marriage for us, but it often does. And it's also the reason why most of the deepest pain that you are feeling right now, most of it probably has to do with broken relationships in your life. The greatest joy we feel from good relationships and the greatest pain we feel are from broken relationships. And I think this tells us not just something about us, but about our Creator as well. I'm going to read one quick verse from the book of Genesis. It's in the Bible. It's Genesis 1:26. And what's going on here is God is speaking to himself and talking about the fact that he is getting ready to create people. And have you ever wondered why God made people? Well, this verse sort of gives us a lot of insight into that. This is God speaking to himself. This passage says this. Then God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds in the heavens and over the livestock and over all the earth and over every living creature that creeps on the earth. There's a lot there. There's 2 things I want you to catch in this passage. The first is the pronoun that God uses. And sorry I read that so fast. I'm just worried the rain's going to come in. But, the pronoun God uses to refer to himself. Notice he says us, first person plural. Why does he refer to himself that way? Well, it's the first hint that we see in the Bible of what we call the Trinitarian nature of God. And what that means is that the God of the Bible, the God described in the Bible, is a God who has existed. If you went all the way back in time to the beginning of time and then even went further, that God has always existed in perfect relationship in and of himself. How is that possible? Perfect loving relationship in and of himself. How is that possible? Well, because the idea that God is a Trinity, he has always existed as one nature but 3 persons. super simple, right? It's okay, let me try to explain it a little bit. If anyone ever tells you they can explain the Trinity, they're either delusional or they're lying to you. But here's my attempt, and you can decide if I'm lying or delusional. So I am one person. I have one nature, human nature. You too, probably, as far as I know. And I'm also one person. I'm a human, and I am Jerry. Right? There's just one person, one nature. God is one being, one nature. He has a divine nature. Simultaneously, he is three persons: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so, since the beginning of time and before that, that God who we worship has existed in perfect, loving relationship with himself, in and of himself. So that's the one thing I want you to notice. The second thing I want you to notice about this passage is the phrase, in our image. God created man in his own image. There's been a lot of ink spilt over the millennia about what it means to be made in God's image. But here's an explanation that I heard from Tim Henderson that I thought was very, very helpful. It's the idea that if God were a cube, God's not a cube, but it's an illustration. If God were a cube, we would be squares. You get that? In the image of God, but lacking the complexity, the depth, the enormity of God, right? In the image, but not identical to, not equal to. So in this case, what we're talking about, if God is relational, if we're in God's image and God is relational, we're also relational. But because God is a cube, he experiences both the need for relationship and the fulfillment of that relationship in and of himself in his Trinitarian nature. We, on the other hand, are just a square. We have the need for relationship, but in order to have it fulfilled, we need to take that square and sort of combine it with other squares. Have you ever heard a couple who's, in love with each other say to the other one, "You complete me"? Well, it's cheesy, but there's some truth in there, in this idea, right? That we recognize that we're not complete on our own. We have a need for others, right? Unlike God, who has that need fulfilled in and of himself. What does this tell us? Well, it tells us that, I lost my place, I'm sorry. One thing this tells us is that God did not create us because he needed us. Maybe you've heard someone say, like, why did God make us? Well, he wanted someone to love him and for him to love. That's not true. God already had his relational needs fully fulfilled in and of himself. So why did God create us? We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But when God made us as people, we actually were not just in need of relationship. When God made Adam and Eve, we were fulfilled too. Adam and Eve were fulfilled in that too. They were in a relationship with each other that was perfect and intimate, and they were also experiencing relationship with God. But when they fell, when they sinned, when they decided that they would look to their own intellect and their own reason to determine what was right and wrong, rather than to defer to God's, that relationship was broken. Both that vertical relationship between them and God and the relationship with each other. And that has continued to this day. We continue to experience those broken relationships. All of the pain that our society is going through right now is a result of this brokenness that we continue to experience. And that brokenness of relationship is something that, if not fixed, will continue forever, eternally. Which is actually really what the Bible describes as hell. A continuation for all time of the broken relationship with God that we experience as a result of sin. Okay. But God was not content to leave us broken like that. Let's look at one last passage. We'll look at John chapter 17, verses 20 through 23, and this is what we're going to wrap up with. We are again, ironically, listening in to a conversation that God was having with himself. In this case, it's Jesus, the second person of the Trinity, speaking to the Father, the first person of the Trinity. And here is what he says. And he's explaining why he came to earth and why he came to die. He says, Jesus is saying, I do not ask for these only, meaning his disciples, but also for those who believe in me through their word, that they may all be one. And here's the key: just as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they may also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. There's a lot there. Just a couple things I want to pick up on. Jesus says, just as you, Father, are in me and I am in you, that they may be in us. Jesus is praying that we would be brought back into perfect relationship, intimate relationship with God. That relationship that was broken by sin. He's praying that we would be brought back into it. And he doesn't just pray for it. Jesus then moves on shortly after this in the book of John to accomplish that restoration as well. Think about what Jesus is saying here, right? Remember we said that since before time began, God has been in perfect relationship with himself, perfectly, Father perfectly loving the Son perfectly loving the Spirit, etc., right? No brokenness in that relationship. Jesus is saying, God, I'm going to accomplish something that is going to bring people into that intimate relationship, to be perfectly loved by God, to be perfectly accepted by him, to the same extent the Father loves the Son loves the Father. How did he accomplish this? Well, he did it on the cross. And one of my favorite things, quotes of Jesus, is what he says as he's dying on the cross. He says a few things, but one of the things he says is this: my God, why have you forsaken me? My God, why have you forsaken me? This has confused theologians ever since Jesus said it. How could someone who is in perfect relationship and has always been in perfect relationship with God, with his Father, describe himself as being forsaken by that God? It's very confusing, right? To the extent that many have tried to explain away these words to basically make them mean the exact opposite of what they do mean, because it's so confusing. Well, what's happening here is that for the first time in history, the Son, the second person of the Trinity, who has always enjoyed relationship with his Father, has always been perfectly loved, and also giving perfect love to his Father, is experiencing a broken relationship with his Father in his human nature. It's never happened before, and it's never happened since. Jesus experienced on the cross the hell of broken relationship with God that we were supposed to experience as a result of our sin and our broken relationship with him. And he experienced it so that our relationship with God could be restored. In a sense, he switched places with us on the cross. I want to leave you with, first of all, I'm so glad it stopped raining. There was like water pouring down my mask here a little bit ago. You may not notice it. Yeah, thanks. I stopped it, right? No, I'm just kidding. Two questions I want to leave you with tonight. The first one is this: have you experienced this restored relationship with God? Have you personally experienced this restored relationship with God that we're describing here? And now, that's not quite the same question as are you religious? It's not quite the same question of did you grow up in the church? There's a lot of overlap there, but they're not exactly the same thing. It is possible to be religious or to have grown up in church, but have never actually experienced this restored relationship. And so if you have not, I would love to talk to you. Anyone who's a leader who's been on stage here or in the band would love to talk to you. I think the staff would love to talk to you. You can text that number that I gave you earlier to hear more. Is my sound out?
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm good. Okay. I would love to talk to you more, but here's the cliff notes of it. Having a restored relationship is simply acknowledging the reality of our broken relationship with God as a result of sin, and accepting the gift that Christ has offered us of a restored relationship that he earned on the cross. So that's the first question. Have you experienced this? The second question is, what are you going to do while you're here at JMU to pursue intimate relationship with other people? Because I really think that's going to be the secret to loving your college experience, is pursuing those kind of intimate relationships. What are you going to do? I'd like to offer some suggestions. Keep showing up to stuff. I'd invite you, please, keep showing up to Cru stuff that we're putting on here. We'd love to have you. Text me and join a small group Bible study. We'd love to have you. that could be a great first step. Okay, so next week we're going to be starting a new series. Obviously, it's new because we just started, but we're going to be walking this semester through the book of Philippians. It's one of my absolute favorite books of the Bible. When I was a college student, someone encouraged me to try to memorize it, and as I was doing that, my understanding of who Jesus was and what he did for me just absolutely blossomed in a sense. And so as we're walking through this series, I want to challenge you to memorize this book with me. If you don't want to, if that sounds terrible, don't worry about it. Keep showing up. No one's going to ask you if you did it or not. But if that sounds exciting to you as we walk through this book, I'd love to challenge you to do that. And if you do, I haven't thought of what this prize is going to be, but I'm going to give you some significant prize that's going to have some actual value. So you might want to consider doing that. But we're going to be starting this next week, and I really look forward. Please consider coming and checking us out again. We're going to try to be here every week, but I think that's probably going to be told more in the announcements too. So let me turn the microphone back over to our great and lovely MCs over here.
Thank you, Jerry, for showing us our need for a relationship and how that relationship is fulfilled by God and God alone. Thank you.
I think next we're gonna have the band come back up. Is this correct? Maybe not.
Sam, is that correct? All right.
All right,
All
band.
right, band's gonna come back up. I'm just gonna pray out of that, pray into this really quick. Just bow your heads and super quick. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for holding off this rain, for allowing us to meet in person, for allowing us to worship you publicly and openly. Lord, it's such a blessing, and we couldn't be more grateful. Lord, in this moment, I just pray that you would allow your Holy Spirit to just be here with us, very present. And Lord, we love you, we praise you, and we give all the glory to you. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
This next song we're going to do is called How Deep the Father's Love for Us, if you want to look up the lyrics. How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that He should give His only Son to make the righteous treasure. How great the pain of fear and loss. Turn his face away, as wounds which mar the chosen one. to pay my ransom. Why should I gain from misery more? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart. These dreams to pay my ransom.
Alrighty, thank you, Cru Band. Thank you very much. I know that we were craving worshiping through song and with a band live for a very long time, so I'm glad that we did that, and I'm sure you are too. So now we're gonna go and talk about some announcements. So tomorrow on the quad, 6 to 8 p.m., there is a scavenger hunt. I'm not sure what we're scavenging for.
We'll have more details when we get there.
Yes, but it's going to be the quad 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., not a.m. You can show up at a.m. if you want.
It's going to be loads of fun. I believe that it's kind of a scavenger hunt around campus. We're going to be, yeah, right? Okay, we're going to be pairing freshmen with upperclassmen who, know their way around a little bit more. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I think it's like whoever finishes first wins kind of thing. So definitely come out to that. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yep.
All right, next up we have, okay, so straight after that scavenger hunt, so that goes from 6 to 8, right? Right after that, 8:30, in the village basketball court, we have, this is a thing we do every year here at JMU Cru. It's called our luau. It's usually just kind of like a welcome back to JMU, kind of get together, we hang out, there's music, fun, games, those kinds of things. It's going to be at the village basketball court. You don't want to miss that.
It's going to be at 8:30 p.m. Come in all of your Hawaiian luau gear if you have it, your leis, your Hawaiian shorts, shirts, and whatnot. And just like Jerry said, you all should come to Fall Retreat. Fall Retreat is a great time. This is where you really can and build those relationships that we all crave. And it's going to be September 9th in the evening to all day.
Wait, it's October.
October. Yes.
October 9th in the evening and all day to the 10th. You do not want to miss it. I don't know where it's going to be at. All those details will come. I don't know. Something popped in my throat. I don't know how that happened. I'm wearing a mask, but it was crazy. So yes, be on the lookout for Fall Retreat information. And I think that will close our night. Before we all go, we're going to do this tradition that we do every time we do large group. It is called JMU Crewing It Out. And we're going to divide you guys in sections. So right here on the very end and this section. Right here on the very end and this section and this section. You're going to be my J. Just kidding. You're going to be my J. And then you're going to, right here in the middle, you're going to be my M. Right? There's not much of you, so you guys are going to need to be loud. And right here, all the way down to this section, and right here,
you guys in the middle.
You guys are going to be my U. I don't know if you guys were able to do this before, if you guys didn't have a frog week, but we're going to make symbols with our hands, whatever letter you are. So J, M, that's M, and then this is U right here. Okay? And when I point to your section, you're going to scream it out, and at the end, instead of saying Dukes, we're going to say Cru. Does that make sense? Yes. All right. 1, 2, 3. JMU Cru. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Stay safe.